Hi everyone, I'm Pearl. Before I begin my story, please take a moment to like and subscribe for more. This tale isn't an easy one, but it's mine, and it starts on an evening that turned my world upside down. It was a regular Tuesday evening. John was watching TV, and I was setting the table for dinner. That's when my phone rang. Seeing the hospital's caller ID, my heart skipped a beat. "Mrs. Pearl, your mother's been in a severe car accident. She's in critical condition." The nurse's voice was calm, but carried an urgency that froze me in place. Dropping everything, I rushed to the hospital. The drive felt like an eternity, each red light amplifying my anxiety. In the ER, I was greeted by a sea of faces, but it was the doctor's somber expression that stayed with me. "Your mother's condition is very serious. We need to perform surgery immediately to have any chance of saving her." The weight of his words was crushing. Without hesitation, I consented to the surgery. How could I not? She was my mom, the woman who raised me single-handedly. As I sat in the cold, sterile waiting room, my mind was a whirlwind of worry and prayers. I lost track of time until my phone buzzed with a text from John. "Where are you? Why isn't dinner ready?" His message, so trivial in the face of my current reality, stung with insensitivity. When I finally got home, it was past midnight. John was waiting, visibly annoyed. "Why is dinner not ready? Where were you?" he barked before I could even explain. With a heavy heart, I told him about my mother's accident, but instead of concern or comfort, his response left me reeling. "So, you neglected your duties here for that?" His tone was dismissive, cold. I tried to make him understand the gravity of the situation. "John, she might not make it. She needs surgery right away." But his next words felt like a slap across my face. "Surgery? Sounds expensive. What a waste of money for someone who's probably going to die anyway." I stared at him, disbelief and disgust mingling with my rising anger. "How can you be so heartless? That's my mother we're talking about." My voice cracked, my plea for empathy falling on deaf ears. "Your mother or not, we're not wasting our savings on her," he retorted, unmoved by my distress. The realization that my husband lacked any semblance of compassion for my dying mother struck me hard. "I can't believe you're saying this," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "Look, Pearl, I married you, not your family. You need to start getting your priorities straight." His words were final, cutting through the last thread of hope I had for his support. Shaking and numb, I retreated to the guest room, closing the door on John, and, it felt like, on the life we had built together. I lay there in the dark, my mind racing with fear for my mother and disbelief at my husband's callousness. The man I thought I knew, the man I had loved, now felt like a stranger. Dawn crept in, casting a soft light on the stark reality of my situation. With my mother's life hanging in the balance, I knew what I had to do. I would fight for her, regardless of John's cruel stance. Stay tuned for the next part of my journey, and remember to like and subscribe for more. This story isn't just about the trials I faced, but also about the strength I never knew I had. Every day, I was at the hospital by my mom's side, watching her slowly but steadily fight for her life. And each night, I'd return to a home that felt less and less like one. John's indifference was like a constant cold draft. One evening, after a particularly draining day, I came home to find John lounging on the couch. "So, how's your mother? Still clinging on?" His tone was casual, like he was asking about the weather. "She's fighting, John. It's serious. The doctors say she might pull through." I tried to keep the hope in my voice. And I suppose that means more hospital bills, right?" He didn't even look up from his phone. I sighed, feeling a familiar knot in my stomach. "Yes, but it's not about the money, John. It's my mom." He shrugged. "Well, don't expect me to foot the bill for her health saga." The next day at the hospital, I met a nurse who seemed to sense my inner turmoil. Her name was Lisa. During one of our conversations, she shared her own story. "I was in a relationship once, much like what you're going through," she confided. "I thought I could change him, make things better. But some people, they don't change." Her words resonated with me. It was like she was describing my life with John. "How did you get out?" I asked, a part of me desperate for a lifeline. Lisa smiled, but her eyes were sad. "It wasn't easy. It took all the strength I had. But one day, I just decided I deserved better. And so do you, Pearl. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't sleep. John's snores filled the room, and I couldn't help but think of Lisa's words. They echoed in my head, a mantra of the strength I wasn't sure I had. The following days were a blur of hospital visits and silent dinners at home. John's lack of interest in my mother's condition, or in anything that mattered to me, became more glaring. One day, I returned home earlier than usual. John was in the kitchen, a rare sight. Decided to come home early? Was getting bored without your husband's company? He smirked, pouring himself a drink. Mom's doing a bit better, I said, trying to sound positive. She's showing some improvement. That's great. Means she'll be out of the hospital soon and we can stop these pointless expenses. His words were like ice. I couldn't hold back anymore. John, do you even care? She's my mother. Doesn't that mean anything to you? He took a sip, unfazed. Pearl, you knew my stance on this from the beginning. I'm just being practical. You're the one being emotional and irrational. I stared at him, a mix of disbelief and anger rising in me. It's not irrational to care about my mother's life. John shrugged, nonchalant. Look, I married you, not your family. You need to get your priorities straight, Pearl. That night, as I lay awake next to John, his words replayed in my mind. The gap between us felt like a chasm. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was sharing my life with a stranger who didn't care for the things that mattered most to me. And so, as the days passed, my visits to the hospital became my sanctuary. Seeing my mother's slow but steady progress gave me a sense of purpose, a stark contrast to the emptiness I felt at home with John. One afternoon, while sitting by my mom's bedside, I opened up to Lisa again. I don't know if I can do this anymore. Being with someone who doesn't understand, who doesn't care. Lisa took my hand. Sometimes, Pearl, the hardest decisions are the ones that lead us to where we need to be. It's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to want to be happy. Her words, simple yet profound, started to take root in me. It was a growing realization, a painful but necessary awakening. I began to see my life with John for what it was, a shadow of what I truly deserved. It was time for a change. Time to stand up for myself, for my mother, and for the life I wanted. A life free from indifference and coldness. A life where I was valued and loved. That realization was the beginning of my awakening. The start of a journey towards a life I hadn't dared to imagine yet. Pearl, you're doing something amazing, but be careful. Secrets have a way of coming out. Lisa whispered to me one afternoon as we huddled in a quiet corner of the hospital cafeteria. Her concern was genuine, but I knew what I was doing was necessary. Thanks, Lisa. I just can't let John know. Not yet. He wouldn't understand, nor would he support it. I sipped my coffee, feeling the weight of the secret I was carrying. Have you thought about what you'll do afterwards? You know, with your mom and your situation at home? Lisa's question hung in the air, heavy with implications. I nodded, more to myself than to her. I've been looking at job listings. There are a few places I can apply to, and I found a small apartment near the hospital. It'll be easier to care for Mom there. That's a good start, Pearl. Just remember, you're not alone in this. Her hand on mine was a reassuring anchor. Later that week, I met with a representative from a charity organization that helped fund medical treatments for those in need. We can cover a portion of the surgery costs, Mrs. Pearl. We're here to help. The kindness in the representative's eyes was a balm to my frayed nerves. I was putting the pieces together, slowly but surely. Friends chipped in, some with money, others with offers to help care for Mom post-surgery. It was overwhelming, the support and love that poured in from unexpected places. One evening, as I returned from a day full of errands and meetings related to Mom's surgery and my job hunt, I found John in a surprisingly good mood. So, Pearl, I was thinking we should go on a vacation. Just the two of us, someplace exotic. His suggestion caught me off guard. A vacation? John, with everything going on? He shrugged, nonchalant. Yeah, why not? We deserve a break. It's not like your mom's going anywhere. The callousness of his remark stung, but I masked my reaction. I'll think about it, John. The last thing I needed was him getting suspicious. As the day of the surgery approached, my nights were restless. Lying next to John, I felt like I was lying next to a stranger. My mind kept going over my plans, over what the future might hold. It was scary, but there was a flicker of hope, too, a sense of empowerment at taking control of my life and my mom's well-being. The morning of the surgery, I kissed John goodbye as if it were any other day, but as soon as he left for work, I was on the move. I had taken the day off, citing a fake appointment. At the hospital, Lisa met me with a tight hug. "You're doing the right thing, Pearl." As Mom was wheeled into surgery, I held her hand until the last possible moment. "You're going to be okay, Mom. I promise." Those hours of waiting were the longest of my life. I paced the halls, sat in the waiting room, stood outside the OR, my heart racing with every passing minute. When the surgeon finally emerged, his smile told me everything I needed to know. The surgery was a success. She's stable. Tears of relief and joy streamed down my face. Thank you. Thank you so much. I spent the rest of the day by Mom's side, watching her sleep peacefully, her chest rising and falling rhythmically. It was the most peaceful I had felt in a long time. That evening, I went home to John, playing the part of the dutiful wife one more day. But inside, I was changing. The plans I had set in motion, the secrets I was keeping, they were shaping a new Pearl. A Pearl who was stronger, braver, and ready to face whatever came her way. Taking a deep breath, I found the courage I didn't know I had. "The surgery was today, John. It went well. Mom's going to be okay." My voice was steady, filled with a strength born from weeks of struggle. He barely glanced away from the TV. "That's good. So can we finally stop worrying about this?" That's when I knew. I knew I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't keep back the flood of emotions. "Stop worrying, John. Do you even understand what I've been going through? My mom nearly died, and you couldn't care less." John sighed, irritation clear in his voice. "Come on, Pearl. It's over now. Let's just get back to normal." His words, meant to be soothing, only fueled my resolve. It all came pouring out. "It's not just about this, John. It's about how little you've supported me. Us. I can't stay in this marriage." Saying it out loud, it felt real, final. He stood up, his face a mix of surprise and frustration. "You're overreacting, Pearl. We've been through tough times before. We'll get past this." But it wasn't just a tough time. It was a revelation of who he truly was. "It's not an overreaction. I've realized I need more, deserve more than this." John tried to reason, his words desperate. "Think about what you're saying, Pearl. We've built a life together. You can't just walk away." But my mind was made up. It's not just walking away, it's walking towards something better. For me, for my mom. He continued, his voice softening, trying to apologize, to salvage what we had. But the distance between us was too great, the hurt too deep. I went to our room, my hands trembling as I packed. Every item I put in my bag felt like shedding a layer of the life I had known. The house was quiet, and as I wrote a note for John, my pen was steady. No dramatic farewells, just a simple goodbye. Stepping out of the house, the cool night air felt like a balm. I looked back once, not with sadness, but with a sense of freedom. It was the end of one chapter, and the beginning of another. The uncertainty of what lay ahead was daunting, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful, empowered. I had my mom, and I had a new path to forge. Walking into the new apartment for the first time, it struck me how different this place felt. It was smaller than the house I had shared with John, but it was bright, cozy, and most importantly, it was a fresh start. Mom was with me, still weak but recovering. Her smile as she looked around our new home was worth every challenge we had faced. "It's perfect, Pearl. A new start for both of us." Her voice was weak but filled with hope. We spent the day unpacking, turning the empty space into something that felt like ours. Each picture we hung, every cushion we arranged, felt like a declaration of our new life. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I started my new job at a local bookstore, a place filled with stories of adventures and new beginnings. It felt symbolic, almost like I was surrounded by possibilities. The job was a far cry from the corporate world I'd left behind, but it was fulfilling in a way I hadn't expected. "How was your first day, honey?" Mom asked as I came home, her strength returning bit by bit each day. "It was amazing, Mom. I met so many interesting people. And the books, it's like being surrounded by different worlds." My enthusiasm was genuine, a feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time. As the days turned into weeks, our routine settled. I worked during the day while a kind neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, checked in on Mom. Evenings were our time, cooking together, watching old movies, or just talking. One evening, while we were making dinner, Mom looked at me, a thoughtful expression on her face. "You've changed, Pearl. You seem lighter, happier." I smiled, stirring the pasta sauce. "I feel different, Mom. It's like I've found a part of myself I didn't know was lost. Leaving John, it was hard, but it was the right thing to do." Mom nodded, a look of pride in her eyes. "I'm sorry I couldn't see how unhappy you were, but I'm so proud of you, for standing up for yourself." Her words meant the world to me. We had both been through so much, but here we were, stronger and together. Weekends were my favorite. Mom and I would explore our new neighborhood, discovering little cafes and parks. One Saturday, we found a quaint coffee shop with the most delicious blueberry muffins. "This could be our new weekend tradition, Pearl." Mom's suggestion was met with my enthusiastic agreement. As autumn turned to winter, our new life became more and more real. The holidays were approaching, and for the first time in a long time, I was looking forward to them. We decided to host a small Thanksgiving dinner in our apartment. Inviting Lisa, Mrs. Jenkins, and a couple of friends from work felt like celebrating not just the holiday, but our new life. The night before Thanksgiving, I was up late, making sure everything was perfect. The doorbell rang, a delivery. Opening the door, I found a huge bouquet of flowers with a note. "Happy Thanksgiving. May this new chapter be your best yet. Lisa." Her thoughtfulness brought tears to my eyes. The day of the dinner, our small apartment was filled with laughter, the smell of roasted turkey, and the warmth of good company. Looking around the room, at the faces of those who had supported us, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. "I'd like to make a toast," I said, raising my glass. "To new beginnings, to the family we choose, and to finding happiness in the places we least expect." The clink of glasses was like music, a soundtrack to my new life. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't help but reflect on my journey. From the pain and uncertainty of leaving a toxic marriage to the joy and fulfillment of my new life, it had been a roller coaster of emotions. But here I was, stronger, happier, and with a future full of promise. Mom was sleeping peacefully in the next room, her breathing steady and calm. Our new home was quiet, the soft glow of the streetlights filtering in through the curtains. I closed my eyes, a smile on my lips. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. This story, my story, is a testament to the power of resilience, of making tough choices for a better tomorrow. It's about finding yourself in the most unexpected places, and discovering that sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most beautiful destinations. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember to like and subscribe for more stories. But for now, it's goodbye from Pearl, a woman who found her freedom and began anew. Now that we've reached the end of Pearl's story, a tale of resilience and tough choices, I have a question for you all. Considering everything Pearl went through, do you think her decision to leave John was her only viable option? Could she have done something differently to change the course of their relationship? Or was leaving the only way to find her own happiness and well-being? This is a complex issue that many face in real life. Please share your thoughts and personal experiences in the comments. Let's have a deep and meaningful discussion. And if you found Pearl's story moving, don't forget to hit the like button. Your likes help these stories reach more people. Also, consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Every subscription helps us grow and continue providing you with compelling and thought-provoking stories. Thank you for your support and engagement.